That is fantastic.
It is the first time you've seen this. Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Kevin Kennedy, man,
That just hits.
does not miss, nor does Carter Harrell. They're just too good.
I don't like you with chapped lips, though.
I don't like me in that situation there because that very much looks like Cool Greg. You know what I mean?
Oh my God,
I keep
you're
thinking
right.
it's him, but
You're
no.
so right.
Like a skinny me is just Cool Greg. A
You're
skinny
so right.
bald me. But yeah, Andy, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Welcome back. You're looking good. You look like you got a whole new getup going on.
Whole new little vibe going.
damn
Finally got my
close
new
your
guitar
ass.
tax return, baby. Shout out to Uncle Sam, who's,
Dude.
probably took way too much anyway, but
Yeah.
it's all good.
I love how you could have done like a sick ass fucking but instead you were holding up your water.
I mean, come on, I can hit you with that, dog.
Yeah,
Come on.
God.
The whole
Damn.
week, the whole weekend, just sitting in bed, like kind of, just kind of looking back at what I just experienced with that episode, Tim. It's so good, man.
It's
What an
so
episode.
good.
Andy,
Kevin, have you seen it yet? No,
No, I
spoiler.
haven't.
Oh,
It's on my list though.
Whoa,
It's on my list for
watch
sure.
it
cut the
tonight,
stream. Go
man.
watch.
Andy, have you played Iron Man on it yet?
That's all for you, bro.
It's so good.
The first thing I played,
Oh
honestly.
man, of course, those are the beautiful sounds of one Andy Cortez.
Hello, everybody.
And joining us as well today, the producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Oh, what a lovely day.
The tradition continues here of not having the full cast for this show. Joey is out in LA right now. So yeah, unfortunately she will not be here. Oh, she did not send me her thoughts on this one either. I'm going to have to hit her up for those and see where she's at, or we'll have to wait for next week for her to give us those beautiful thoughts on this movie. But of course, we're talking about Mad Max because this is kind of funny's Mad Max in review, where we're going to rank, review, and recap every single Mad Max film leading into Furiosa, a prequel story. I don't know what the name of the movie is, and I probably should look it up.
Frozen Empire,
Something like that.
probably.
Yeah.
I think it's just Furiosa, isn't it?
Yeah, but a Mad Max something
Max
or other.
saga or something like that, yeah.
Anyways, like it's happening. It'll be there, and it's
Mad
going to
Max
be
Saga.
Yeah.
a Mad Max saga. So there we go. But of course, if you're watching this, you know the deal here. You can watch this each and every week. We rank, review, and recap different movie franchises. You can watch on YouTube. You can listen on podcast services. Just search for Kind of Funny in Review, and we'll be right there for you. But if you wanted to go above and beyond, all you got to do is get the Kind of Funny membership. It gets you the show ad-free. It gets you it live as we record it. And
Okay, what's going on here?
So I just got to ask, Andy.
What's going on?
You have been obsessing about this guitar for a very long time. It's a brand new guitar. You bring it in here. It's cherry, man. This thing is cherry. Miami blue. You said you've been looking long and far for it.
Mm-hmm.
You come in, you put it on the couch, you open it up, and you, like that. Do you want it to fall over and snap in two? Is
That's
that
my
what you're
old
asking
guitar.
for? That's your old guitar?
Yeah, that's my other Telecaster. That's not this guitar.
What prompt? But even that, what prompted you to not just flip the case around? So if
this
it
is
were
one
to
of those
fall-
situations, Andy, where it's like this is some madman shit going
That's
on.
crazy.
Like,
That's
why
crazy
would you
talk.
do this?
I thought I closed it. I could have sworn I
But
closed
even if you didn't close, like why
think you're
wouldn't you
missing the
just
point.
open it the way
The
that
other
like
way.
seems like a human being would?
Flip it around.
You know what I mean?
Flip it around so it can't fall off the back of the couch.
To be clear, you did close it. I thought for the picture, I would open it to demonstrate Nick's point.
Oh, you want the handles on the other side.
Yeah.
I approached the couch from the back side
No way.
because the front of the couch, there's a lot of stuff there, as you can see. For audio listeners,
table.
you don't understand if you you don't have to come watch the video evidence, but there's so much clutter in front of that. There's a whole lot of shit in there in the way.
Nick was worked up when he saw this.
Lot of
It's because
stuff.
it's such a beautiful case. It's beautiful guitar, all these things, and you crack it open, and my first thought is the weight of the case is just going to take it right over the edge.
Oh, no way. Come
Well,
on.
earlier you did have it open with nothing in it.
Right, well, because I needed to swap it out over here.
No,
I'm-
yeah, no, I
as
get
my-
it. I don't have a problem with it. Just to
As
be
my
fair.
dad once said, you're cruising for a bruising. I want to
Kinda
say
Funny
a lot of
membership.
things, but I'm not going to say a lot.
The membership gets you the show ad-free. You get to watch live as we record it, and you get a daily exclusive show. You also get to be a super cool Patreon producer if you so choose, like James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Kieran Hovasapian, Carl Jacobs, Kashan Patel, Karen Lindner, and Nathan Lamoe. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Because of your support, you won't need to hear our ad for Factor, but everyone else, you will. But that's later, because we got to get into it. We're talking Mad Max 2, or as it was known in America, The Road Warrior.
Wow.
Wow. Nick, This came out December 24th, 1981, with a
Christmas
runtime.
Eve.
Exactly. What a nice little Christmas gift for everybody.
Do Australians have the
They
same
don't celebrate Christmas there.
Damn.
So, yeah.
That's wild.
It just happened to be a great time for them for this one. But December 24th, 1981. So 2 years and some change after the first movie. Nick, you were saying last week that this is your one.
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. I mean, this is a movie I grew up watching most when it comes to the Mad Max world. This was always on TV. This is one of those where it was just like, what reality allowed this movie to exist? It terrified me as a child. I loved it. I was like, I never want to watch that ever again. Every time I finish it, and then the next time it was on or whatever, I'm like, I gotta watch this movie. It has an addictive quality to it because it is just absolutely bonkers and terrifying. And all the things you would imagine in a post-apocalyptic world where gas is the number one thing you could possibly get. What I love,
Gasoline.
what's that?
Gasoline.
Gasoline. What did they call it at the end? The I forget how they refer to it at the end when the feral kid's finally talking at the very end. But he's like, yeah, it's like the pure or whatever it's called.
Exactly.
Pure juice or something like that. But no, I mean, again,
blue, Mr. White.
I think going into this, I love how this movie feels bigger than the first one. It feels like a summer blockbuster movie, but also still very self-contained. I think George Miller is very smart in that predominantly this movie happens in this one space. It's like when they say, oh, you want to see your first full-length feature film? What you got to do is you got to find a cabin and then write the whole movie about the cabin. And then, that way you have one location, whatever. Well, that's what this compound basically is. You can imagine that all the streets that they were in, which is kind of in the surrounding area of this, so they never really had to leave that moment.
They went so hard where they're like, yo, we have this set. We need to use it in every creative way we possibly can because it's all we got.
That's it, right? But I like that it takes, it's George Miller saying like, hey, you could tell sort of this is just him unleashed, building off of the first one, but not really, right? Because the first one, we were like, you were thinking it was going to be more, if you had just watched that film and I said, hey, is it going to be The Road Warrior or is it going to be more something like The Walking Dead or something where people are walking through cities and it's just kind of abandoned and people are attacking each other? I would have guessed B, not A. But I think him fully realizing this world, and this is the world he wants to play in now from here on forward, is just awesome. And it's just a testament to how that guy's brain works, basically.
And that guy, of course, the director, George Miller, once again, who directs all these movies. Andy, you missed this last week. You probably already know some of this. But did you know that he wrote and produced Babe?
Oh, no. Wait, I'm thinking of, wasn't M. Night Shyamalan?
Stuart Little.
Stuart Little. That's the one I always think of.
So George Miller wrote and produced Babe. He wrote, produced, and directed Babe, Pig in the City.
Oh, shit.
And he did win an Academy Award for a movie that he wrote, directed, and produced. Happy Feet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Crazy. Right?
Multifaceted human being.
Very,
Also, it's
very
going to be in
much
Death
so.
Stranding too.
He's going to be in Death Stranding too.
Yeah.
Kojima knows how to pick them. Music once again done by Brian May, an Australian new wave artist. Budget was just shy of $3 million American dollars with a box office of $36 million, which is obviously very good relatively. But another fact you missed last week, Andy, was up until Blair Witch Project, Mad Max 1 was the highest profiting movie of all time compared to its budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like so cheap to make and it made $100 million. So it was like, whoa, y'all got the stuff over here.
How much did it cost to make?
Around like $3 million or even less. Like nothing, essentially. And they made a lot of money from it. Nick, what are
why are you
laughing
giggling?
about?
What are you?
In the chat, it's a non sequitur, but Mara says the Coos 3, Coozin' for a Bruisin'.
Really hard to explain this.
Tough one.
To the Mad Max
But if you
audience.
haven't watched 12 hours of our Pokemon Let's Play over on our games channel, then you guys should catch up because that's
Yes.
a great joke.
Definitely. I do want to read a couple facts before I get into the deeper thoughts on this one, because there was some really good trivia for this movie. Mel Gibson only has 16 lines of dialogue.
You know what's funny? I saw that pop up on my, like the very, very beginning of my Amazon Watch. And I was like, interesting. I think he has more than 16 lines.
Hey,
He talks a lot during this movie.
Apparently, he only has 16 lines, and 2 of them are, I only came for the gasoline.
Fair enough.
That one counted twice. In the flip to that, the feral kid, which is what they call this fucking
Yeah.
kid,
Yeah,
It sure did.
never
'Cause
says a word.
I wanted to look up at that fucking IMDb thing. Like,
Yeah.
who is this
What's
person?
going on with this?
Yeah.
Never says a word. He just growls. It's not revealed until the end that the film's narrator is actually the feral kid all along.
Cool as shit.
What a reveal. Now, this kid was the thing that made me realize I have seen this movie on TV.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, but
Oh,
I
really?
have seen enough parts of it where I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely remember this.
Little Donnie Thornberry right there.
Well, it's because you
100%. Yes.
you have the crazy looking little feral kid with the big hair and the razor boomerang.
Oh my God.
And then you have all the bondage stuff now
Yep.
comes out.
Oh yeah.
Like Humongous is just
Now, Nick,
everything.
I might blow your mind
Sure.
with this trivia here. That ended up not being official, but Humongous was originally supposed to be Max's partner, Jim Goose, from the first movie.
Really?
The production decided
That's
against
cool.
this, but did leave a few hints, such as horrible burns behind Humongous's goalie mask,
Oh.
his Raiders' use of police vehicles, and his own use of a similar weapon to the MFP's standard sidearm. How
Interesting.
fucking sick is
That's cool.
that?
That's really cool.
Was that the last time Mel Gibson was like in a building in these movies? Like in
Oh,
a
yeah, probably.
what feels like
No more buildings anymore.
yeah, there's no
Yeah.
it's just the wild out
This-
there, man.
And I've been really getting into the lore of Mad Max because there's a freaking lot of it, Andy. And apparently, like, people don't really have anything that they're locked into timeline wise, and like it's kind of a weird thing where if you think too hard about it, the canon doesn't actually work. But that's why they kind of frame these movies as like the legend folklore of this Mad Max character. So it's like it's kind of like Link and Zelda, where it's like there's a timeline, but it's more of a suggestion than anything.
Sure.
Supposedly, this was like 7 years after the first one, so that's how
Okay.
much like things have like kind of like declined. The tanker roll stunt at the end of the chase was deemed so dangerous that the stunt driver was not allowed to eat any food 12 hours before they shot, in the likely event that he'd be rushed into surgery.
Smart.
Doesn't seem like the way you're supposed to
Holy
do
shit.
things.
That's Australia, man. They don't celebrate Christmas there.
That is insane.
So you know what? This is so dangerous. Don't eat food.
Yeah.
What?
You should not eat because when you go to the surgeon's table, oh my god, that's awful.
One of the spectacular stunts in the film, in which one of the motorcycle riding raiders hits a car, flies off the bike, smashes his legs against the car, and cartwheels through the air towards the camera, lest we forget, was actually a genuine and nearly fatal accident. The stuntman was supposed to just fly over the car without hitting it. He survived, but his legs were badly broken. The moment looked so dramatic, they kept it in the film.
I mean, look at. Obviously you never want anyone to get injured making anything, right? This is a film. It's a piece of fiction, and you want your stunt people to obviously come out okay. But if I'm a stunt guy and that happens to me, I'm like, you better keep that in the fucking movie. Like, I broke my legs for that. That's an awesome shot. That is the shot
That's
of
the
the movie.
shot.
Keep that shit in the movie.
Be in the audience
Also,
like
pay
that's
me a lot more.
Be in the audience. That's what killed my career right there.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Now
That's
I
the
write
moment.
for a living.
That's the moment, everybody. And then two more things here that I just think are super badass. Like, one, Steven Spielberg loved these movies so much that he ended up working with George Miller for the Twilight Zone movie that they made. George directed one of the mini stories in that. And then James Cameron cited this as his biggest influence behind the Terminator and Terminator 2.
Mm.
And John Connor's dog was named Max due to this.
No shit.
Yeah.
Maxie, that's right.
And then unusual for an action film, this was shot in sequence.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
So for those that don't understand, that means normally movies are kind of just shot like location to location of like whatever shots we need. So the end of the movie might actually be the first thing shot. But because this was all one location, they're like, let's just shoot it in order of the actual movie going, which kind of interesting, I guess. That's a rarity there. Nick, did you have any more thoughts on this before I move on to Andy?
No, I think just one more fun piece of trivia. Do you ever watch the movie Weird Science?
I never have.
Wait,
Just heard you
like,
talk about it.
It was on TBS, the Superstation.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think it was. So Weird Science had a weird cameo in that for whatever reason I forget how it ended up working out, but like when they do the experiment again, it like something happens, and the guy that played Wes or Wes, however you say his name, is in Weird Science as this character.
Huh.
It's kind of wild.
That is,
It's like a weird cameo. They were like, let's just bring the dude from Mad Max in and
Yeah.
have him be like the bad guy for a hot second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Dope.
who's Wheeze or Wes? The guy who
Vern-
got shot
the
in
guy-
the arm with
The
the arrow?
badass who's like, they had to unchain him at the end so we can go out. Yeah, the guy got shot in the arm.
Oh, okay,
One of the
gotcha.
main villains.
Mohawk guy.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, one of the main bad guys who are never named in the movie, but they are known as the Marauders,
Mm.
which is just always the coolest fucking.
Yeah, so
word
this,
ever.
I mean, we can pull it up, but yeah, so see these shots?
Well,
That's him.
Cool.
That's him in Weird Science as like
Coming in from a
the
different
character.
universe or
Isn't
something.
that wild? Yeah.
That's
I was just
incredible.
like, wait a minute, they get the guy. It broke my brain.
That's so weird. Andy, you didn't love Mad Max 1. What'd you think about Mad Max: The Road Warrior?
I got some shit to say.
Okay.
This movie kicks fucking ass.
Hell yeah.
This movie kicks ass, dude. And I guess what the reason I felt kind of weird about the first movie, Mad Max, was it felt like, it kind of was, honestly, like a tech demo for here's what I can do in a future movie with a bigger budget and a little bit more planning and stuff. And it just kind of felt like it meandered, and I don't know, I was just more appreciative of like the stunts that they wanted to pull off and the sort of vision that George Miller had. But this feels like a movie. This feels like we're going set piece to set piece. I enjoyed all of the action. I think that lends a lot more of the excitement to it. It's why I love watching Tom Cruise action movies, because you could feel the realness. You can, even though I'm seeing the strings on the arrows whenever they're hitting people in the chest of the leg or whatever, I'm still seeing the crazy stunts that are being performed by a lot of these stunt actors, and all of that just adds to the tension and everything. And I don't know, the movie's just badass, man. I think it ends on one of the highest notes ever. Like, that's one of the coolest outros ever. I just really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the vibe, the tone, the sort of like warring factions, the lore that they're building up. I had a great time with it, and I was very, very worried about my future thoughts on whatever the rest of this franchise is after part one. I was like, man, I know that one's like very, very different from what we expect Mad Max to be, especially as someone like me who would only ever seen Fury Road. And I just expected more Marauder type looking dudes like we got in this movie. But this feels like almost like the true start to it, Yeah. And I don't know, I had a great time with it. Really,
and for
really
everyone in
movie.
America, I think it was, right? Because again, I don't think Mad Max is very big. But the Road Warrior is what I think my generation thinks of as the Mad Max, the quintessential Mad Max movie, and then going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah, I am right there with you. This movie kicks fucking ass. I do think I like the first one more, but I think that's just because I'm so surprised by it. Like, it was just not what I expected at all. And I really love how ambitious it was. And I don't think it nailed everything, but I think overall I'm like really impressed by that one. This one's weird for me, where it's like, I mean, I freaking love it, and like it gets very high marks. I just am so surprised by how derivative it feels of like just like the plot itself. There's a lot more plot in this than there was in the last one. But even just the setup of, you have 24 hours, then we're gonna do this. And they have the tanker, they have to get somewhere, all that stuff. It feels like I've seen the story a million times before. But then you stop and think, it's like, was this the beginning of that story? And like, that's so freaking cool, man. I never would have given Mad Max as much credit as it deserves for 1 and 2 for like really changing the game when it came to what an action movie was, what chase scenes can be, like creating what a dystopian world could look like, where now we're decades removed from this. So it's like we have understandings of what a zombie apocalypse looks like, what a more comedic apocalypse looks like all these different things. But you see so many elements of this that like maybe there's stuff that came before it, but like it's wild to me. We always talk about Family Guy, where it's like, I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard every joke. So it's like, I know everything that's happening here. It's so wild to look at the costumes and the cars and just like so many of the ideas in this movie and just be like, those are original as hell.
Like they set the genre.
It's
essentially. Yeah.
nuts, man. And especially when you start hearing about the budget and like the creativity that they had to put into this movie, it just oozes creativity, like from beginning to end. And I'm just so impressed with this movie, it being a sequel. Like, this definitely might be one of the best sequels, like the step ups ever of a franchise. And it's like just so damn impressive. Yeah, I had a great time. Can't wait to keep watching these. And I really love seeing this one. Like, it really, you're like, okay, I see how we get to Fury Road. Whereas the first one, it's a little bit like, I don't know, man.
Well, that's my question for you guys. Was the jump jarring? Because it's a very distinctly different world that we're seeing now.
No, because it feels like time has passed. Like, I think the thing that was just so jarring to me about the first movie was that it was just such a surprising place and time for it to take place, where it's not like, oh, civilization's just starting to crumble. It was pretty damn crumbled at that point. Like, we had people acting depraved, you know? Mm-hmm. And maybe in real life that would happen a lot sooner than we'd expect. But there was something fascinating to me about that, where it's like, normally we see like the outbreak or we see the like early days of a thing happening, where it was there, which kind of felt like, yeah, we're a couple years into this shit, but it's not totally gone yet.
Right.
I think made it feel unique to me in a way that I really appreciated. And then the jump to this, it does feel like there was a jump. It feels like Mad Max has been out there fucking. He's had many stories between the last movie and this.
I didn't feel the jump jarring at all because this is what I expected Mad Max to always be.
Yeah.
So if anything, part one was way more jarring for me because I didn't expect that humanity just fell and like we're just trying to kind of find our way through it. And yeah, for this, I was way more expecting like. For me, when I look at the first movie, if his name wasn't Max, it could be one of those where they're like, "Oh, did you know that first movie? That's actually in the Mad Max universe.
Totally.
That was like a prequel or whatever, but it's not like
Sure.
officially tied." That's what it kind of felt like to me.
It's like a Better Off Dead. Better Off Dead. Is that what, Better Luck Tomorrow?
Better Luck Tomorrow.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Not Better Off Dead. That's
Edge of Tomorrow.
I think Better Off Dead is a.
Live, Die, Repeat. Edge of Tomorrow.
I'm
Edge of
talking about the
Tomorrow's
one with
Live, Die,
Han.
Repeat.
Han
Oh,
in the Tokyo Drift
yes.
universe. That's what
You're
I'm
right.
talking about.
Better Luck Tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
Good
That's-
call. Good
yeah,
call.
so the jump was not jarring for me at all because this is what I always expected Mad Max to be with the bondage, the everybody looking like they are who's a wrestling duo. They got the spikes on the
Yeah.
shoulder pads.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Road Warriors.
The Road Warriors. Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, that
what the
makes a
fuck
lot of
they're
sense,
called.
doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I
Wow,
always
somebody owes
expected this to
someone
be.
a royalty check on that one.
Yeah. That's wrestling.
What were you gonna say about the jump?
No, I mean, for me, it was very jarring because I had never seen the first one. So going back and seeing that, I guess similar to what you guys' experience was that was not my expectation for what the first movie would have been. I think watching it now in chronological order, it's so cool to see the little touches that they have to tell you that time has passed, right? Like Max is in the same Interceptor uniform that he was before, except it's tattered. It's missing a sleeve. He's got gloves that he has cut.
Got
so that
the
he
knee
can
brace.
shoot. He has the knee brace, which I think is the coolest, smartest thing that they put. It doesn't
You have
hinder
to
him
oil
ever.
it up a little.
They have to oil it up a little bit, but it's because there's no doctors. He got his knee blown out, and it just doesn't work anymore. He can get reconstructive surgery on it. He just has to have this like knee brace for the rest of the series now.
He has the
so
one
cool.
weird blonde streak. It's
Yeah,
like,
the
this is
rogue
tight,
streak.
dude.
Awesome.
It's wild.
Come on, man.
It's weird
and-
that the hair on his side is longer than the hair on the top, but it just worked.
So Mel,
well.
another fact I read, Mel Gibson decided a lot of the things that you were just talking about here, where he ripped his sleeve off and he was like, I want to look like fucked up and stuff. And he like fucked up his hair and like cut random parts. He just did it. And they're like,
So
I
sick.
guess this is what we're
Great
dealing with.
call.
And
That makes
yeah,
sense,
good
right?
call.
You're out in the middle of the desert, which is a very distinctly different vibe than we saw. It was like a beach town that we saw in the first one, and everything looks way more desolate and scary in the desert. And then, of course, we've got. I mean, it looks like he cuts his own hair, which is great.
Yeah.
Smart choice. We've got the dog, which is sad. And then, of course, we've got the Interceptor from the first movie, but it's very, very like it was clean as shit in that movie, and now it's like no bumper.
Yeah.
Barely chugging along. Everything's dirty, and so I love all those visual cues.
A
of
A
lot
being
lot
of
of
like,
the
car
yeah.
wrecks
car,
have
guys.
happened.
What's that?
We lose the car.
I know we lose
That
the car.
fucking sucks.
I know
Broke
you gotta
my
kill
heart.
your darlings. That's what happens.
God.
But overall, yeah, just a cool movie.
The one thing I hated about this movie, and it's not necessarily the movie's fault with the $4 million, whatever it was, budget. How much was it? I don't even think it was. It was less than $3 million back then. This might be the worst sound mix I've ever heard in a film, ever, bar none. Like, it was so hard to hear anything, and 90% of the movie is just of all the like motorcycles and everything, and it's not good, man. There's so many lines of dialogue that without subtitles, I'm like, you might as well not even be talking here. But again, that is a criticism that I understand the context around. And watching it visually, I can't believe how impressive this movie is. Like,
Dude.
there's the sense of speed that they get of having the camera so low constantly. And like when the movie opens and then there's a shot later, but him just ripping down the fucking thing, I'm like, oh, he's going Sonic fast, man.
Dude, the shots of him in the air, like supposedly on the gyro, but like all that, like there's that one shot where
That
he's
shot's
just
rad.
he's passed out.
That's
and
a great shot.
dude, all that stuff is just so practical and real looking, and like it's real because it is real. And I just really enjoyed a lot of the cinematography with all of the leaps that they were making with the airborne shots. It reminded me of like why I loved Lord of the Rings with all the helicopter shots that they were doing. Like there was so many great aerial moments in this that kind of just showcased everything beautifully. There's one shot that I don't know if it was real or not, and I don't know if it was just like a composition thing, but it's Mel Gibson and the homie gyro captain, and they are waiting for the bad guys to leave their camp.
The
And
compound,
it's like a wide shot, and I couldn't tell if it was comped or not.
No, they wouldn't have comped that.
Dude,
They
it
would've
looks
just done
so
it.
fucking good.
Yeah.
Like this movie is like just shockingly really gorgeous to look at.
I'll agree, and it's one of those films in the 80s that used anamorphic lenses, and and it's hilarious because it gives you anamorphic films specifically, if I'm not mistaken, was it gives you like a weird ethereal sort of like otherworldly sense because it does something weird optically when they film it that just kind of is off-putting. Specifically, you can see it in the night scenes, of which there was only one in this movie.
Oh my God.
Which is or two,
That was
which is hilarious.
That was a bad. Like I did not that looked really bad on my screen.
One of them, it's raining, which is like the crazy montage of you see the masked guy just kind of like
where he's burning people
I'm a
alive.
villain, and things are happening and whatever. But the first one is like, where he gets down in the trench and the little like kid is like howling. And it might have been I was like, guys, just don't shoot this at night. Like it was like the worst lit thing I've ever seen. It looked like a webcam in like 2002.
That sequence didn't work. But when he leaves the camp and he reiterates the deal where he's like, my car and all the gas I can carry, right? And they're like, yes. And he's got the things on his shoulders. When he turns around, you can see what I call the Die Hard lights. They put whenever they shoot anamorphically in the 80s specifically, they still do this to this day. They always put practical lights that are super hot in the background, so it does those beautiful blue lens flares that come across. Die Hard is just they're fucking everywhere. Every time a helicopter or anyone shoots a gun in Die Hard, you're just like, what's up, J.J. Abrams? Thanks for the Star Trek. But that lends itself. It's harder to film that. It was way harder to film back in the day. Now it's a little easier with digital. But the fact that they did that makes this movie feel so otherworldly and so weird and wacky that it just works. And the visual style of this movie, I think there are shots in this that are stunning and still hold up to this day.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Can't wait to get into way more details, but we're going to do that right after a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Factor. Eat stress-free this spring with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. A ton of us here at Kinda Funny have been so thankful for Factor since we've been in the new studio, and you can too. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also, discover more than 60 add-ons every week like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. What are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up your springtime goals. Get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes with Factor's ready-to-eat meals so you can get back to doing what you love this spring. Head to factormeals.com/kindafunny50 and use code kindafunny50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. That's code kindafunny50 at factormeals.com/kindafunny50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. Hit me with the plot song, Andy.
We'll see. 1 second here. Mad Max, here's the plot. Mel Gibson sucks, but he's hot. Mad Max, here's the plot. Mel Gibson sucks.
Interesting. Good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that.
I was like, what rhymes with the...
Was that based on a prior song or was that an Andy original?
Go to it.
Oh.
Let yourself go.
Okay,
to it.
yeah. I should have known.
Mad Max 2, or as I like to call it, The Road Warrior. We start with narration. Awesome narration voice. Don't know the actor, but he does a bang-up job here. Reminds me of like every time you're watching like a fantasy movie and it's like Galanteria.
Dog, I was like, this is every Souls game intro. Like, like this is like so cool, and it sets such the perfect tone for this world that is meant to feel fantastical. Like, sure, it all looks kind of grounded, and these are all, you know, we're not seeing like magical flying dragons. This is like something that could happen, but it kind of reminds you of in a galaxy far, far away.
Long time
Like,
ago in a
wow,
galaxy.
that's like here. That's, you know, I don't know. I really, really enjoy this intro.
And it's interesting because you read that bit of trivia of being like, hey, this is meant to feel sort of like a more fantasticized or fantastical story of someone that you would tell your kids to, like, you know, a hero story that's not necessarily
Fairy tale,
very much a fairy tale, right? He says this narration, he ends with, but most of all, I remember the road warrior, the man they called Max.
Good Lord, dude. I just got chills right now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
And
just what a great setup here. And even just the kind of like, it's a semi-reboot, but it's also a sequel. What a great job. Like, they're just like, hey, If you didn't watch the first movie, here's everything you need to know in a actually like way more fascinating, like quick way. But I loved all the words used. I forget what they even call the black liquid or whatever. It's like the planet used to run on this and like it still kind of does and all that shit. So damn cool. Like what a
Sucking the
dope
planet dry.
yeah, 100%. But like, what a great thing where it's like you look at this, I'm like, damn, we see the touches in so many pieces of media that we love.
And I love also that we're just getting like that weird sort of like, I want to say like Saw-esque, fast-paced montage of
Editing.
just like editing, but everything always ends with just Mad Max staring at the fucking camera on a road by his car, and it's raining behind him, and it's terrifying.
Andy, you missed this last week, but did you think it was weird that the movie last week ended with the saw trap of him being handcuffed to the car, and it was like, here's the saw, it'll cut through your faster.
Yeah.
It was the inspiration for the Saw movies.
No.
Yeah. James Wan and Leigh Whannell are both Australian, grew up watching Mad Max, and they're like, we got to do this.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
We get a little backstory, of course.
Because immediately as I'm watching it, I just went like, you're stuck to a car.
Do you want to play a game? We're in the outback of Australia. We get the narrator, of course, tells us a little bit more fleshing out why the world ended, which I think wasn't necessary for me. But I guess if you're coming into the series new, it's the 80s. You don't have the internet. You got to tell people why society's breaking down. Me personally, I didn't need this. I wish they had just started the movie with just the legend of Mad Max. We don't need to know why the society ended. We're never going to solve it.
I
it's
like it.
Zombie stuff. You know?
I like it here though because it focused so much on gasoline.
Yes.
Like I feel like just if they didn't do that, like not only was there a movie before it that is helpful for new audiences, I just feel like it contextualizes the why in an important way to like justify the actions of all the good guys and bad guys in this in a way that I believe it.
You have to also remember this was made in 81, right?
Yep.
So there were massive gas shortages in the 70s. And then obviously we're coming into sort of like the Cold War, Reagan era, us versus USSR 1.0. So we're talking World War III, obviously. So this was definitely a sign of its time, like all great fiction should be, right? Which is mirroring sort of something that's fun or not fun, but terrifying that's happening necessarily in modern day. Movies
And without that setup, we don't have the outro, the reveal.
Which is a silly reveal. Like, I freaking love it. But it's like this weird little feral kid. Like, I don't know. He was a little too old and too feral to learn that type of British English ever in his life. You know what I mean?
He did sound like he went to Oxford.
Yeah.
Well, he was Australian.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's Australian.
Boston's Australian for beer.
It's all out the window when you're Australian.
Yeah.
It's
You throw it out
did
the
you know
window?
that
Christmas.
down
Don't
under the toilet bowls go up. So when you
Wow.
flush them, they go up
Yeah.
into you.
Into
You
you.
have to get out of the way.
Wow. That's why they have the bowls in the ceiling. Of course, gas shortage. And then I love this moment where it's like, and the world leaders met and they just talked and they talked and they talked and they got fucking nothing done while everything around them crumbled. Because that is just reality in a nutshell. And of course, they talk about Max and this deserted, horrible, broken down land. It was here in this blighted place that he learned to live again. We catch up with Max, man. He's a bit older and he's got a cool dog. And he's being chased by a gang of BDSM models. He outsmarts them the same way Maverick did in Top Gun by hitting the brakes and letting them fly right by. And they collide with this abandoned semi-truck smack dab in the middle there. Of course, Wheeze, I'm going to call him Wheeze. I don't know how to say his name. And Golden Youth is the name of the other character.
Golden Youth. No way.
Tim, we got to start a new list.
I mean, I guess we do. Sure.
Bro, it's
Fuck
time
it.
for a podcast in a podcast called Name That Name. Andy, hit it.
Name fucking shit. I think I have the wrong thing. I have the wrong. It's in a different spot.
I
It's
get
usually
it. I
down here.
understand. Yeah.
What is the best name? Name that name. What is the best name? Name that name. What is the best name? Name that name. What is the best name? Name that name.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast and the podcast Name That Name. Last week we had Bubba Zaneta, the toe cutter. Where do we want to put Wheeze, Humongous, and Golden Youth? In my opinion, they just upped it.
I mean, I agree. Humongous is such a like.
It's so extra.
It's so extra and so stupid. So was Toe Cutter though, but I'm giving it to this one. And yeah, Golden Youth.
I didn't know Golden Youth was. Had you not told me about Golden Youth, it probably would have fallen to second place at Toe Cutter. I love that Toe Cutter was like, "Bubba." He says it.
Papa.
It's so good. Yeah, this has got to be number one for sure.
I agree. I think continuing the tradition of these outrageous names for these people, and then looking. What's crazy is looking at some of the names. Like one of the guys' names was Quiet Man or something like that. And he had a name. He did something, and I think I wrote a note later where he does something that's like indicative of him being quiet. And I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of. And the mechanic is just the mechanic.
Man, you're talking about Kojima just fucking being influenced. Like there's
some little
totally,
really meta shit in the way
some,
these guys are named. In his movies.
Kojima has a character named Hot Cold Man. He has a character named Die Hard Man. Like,
you gotta start playing more Kojima games.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, he outsmarts them. Weez and Golden Youth do not like it. He's like, I don't like you. And Golden Youth, no lines in this whole movie.
No, dude.
Just exists to.
He's not the narrator.
Let's be honest, just look good.
Yeah.
This guy looks good. He takes off. Max takes the gas from the semi truck and moves on down the road.
It's cool. Like I feel like the first movie we saw glimpses at people kind of jumping onto the thing to try to take the gas, but I like that in this movie it's do or die. Like he is running out of gas even in the beginning, has to get more, and seeing him actually do it I think is just really, really cool. And like it makes everything feel a little bit more like there's stakes to this, where if he runs out of gas,
he's screwed.
He's screwed.
You're
He
dead.
ain't going nowhere.
It's like your horse dying in the middle of a Western and you're in the desert. You're just screwed, right?
Yep.
I do want to give a shout out to this actor. His name is Vernon Wells, and he popped up a lot in the 80s. Obviously, he reprised this role as a cameo in Weird Science, which terrified me. If you remember correctly, the two characters, Wyatt and I'm forgetting their names, hid in the closet because this guy was so scary. And then she was like, you got to get out of the closet. You got to go take care of this. You got to be a man, right? They did. Worked out okay for Weird Science. Say what you will about the movie, but Gary and Wyatt
Still talking about Weird
worked out okay. He popped up also in, I believe he was in Inner Space as the bad guy. And he was also the bad guy in Commando.
Yeah.
He's Bennett. Bennett! Let off some steam.
I've never seen this man before.
Really? Oh, man, he rocks. I think he does a fantastic job.
He's great.
He's scary as shit.
And
He's
again,
weird.
This was true of the first movie, but it's so much more true in this one. I love that no two characters look the same. Like in a world where it's like, all right, there's a whole bunch of shit, and like even like when we meet the good guys, like they're all wearing similar colors and like stuff. But it's like everyone has an identifiable thing. I'm just like, oh, you have the weird ponytail thing, and like you are the Mohawk guy, and like I just love that like there's enough to differentiate. And in the first movie, there was the guy with the cool helmet, compared to everyone else. This is dope shit.
My one not criticism of the movie, but I think the thing that sticks out to me the most, that kind of a little takes me out of it, is what defunct American Apparel did the good guys raid to get these random pink and white and like plush colored gear. They're in the middle of a desert and they're wearing these perfect out. One of the blonde lady that falls in love with the gyro guy has like a pink band, like a headband.
I love the headbands.
Where'd you get that?
It reminded me of remember where they got ninja powers in the Power Rangers movie?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Man, everybody's like every young male sexual awakening.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
If you're into women, yeah.
It just looks like a lot like the Heaven's Gate cult like plays football.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It's very weird.
I feel that.
Love that Max has the knee brace, by the way, because his knee got blown out in the first movie. He just kind of limps around this entire time, and that's, spoilers, going to be the way he does for the rest of the series, which is crazy.
A shout out for kind of throwing off my expectations with the super baddie in the good group of folks.
Oh,
I was like,
hot warrior lady.
Like, she's gonna be the love interest. Like, obviously too hard on Max at the beginning. Like, this guy fucking sucks. What do you we got to kill you, whatever. And then, hey Max, I was wrong about you, and he's like, all right, thank you, and I was like, all right, here we go. George Miller surpassed my expectations.
Oh, go for it.
George, there's the thing George Miller, people brought that up of like, well, it's weird that they weren't a thing, and he goes, I didn't think about that after the movie. You're right.
But it's not, but you know what's funny? But it's not weird, and I'll tell you why.
That's awesome. That's even better.
Max is in this interesting role in these movies, right? Because he is the main character, and he does what a main character should do, which is move the plot along, right? He is our hero of this film. But in a lot of ways, it's not his story. And so it's interesting that he just dips into these worlds and then the story gets told about these people trying to survive this compound.
It happens
and
around him.
It kind of happens around him, right? And obviously, we love him. You know, he's the hero of the story, but it's less about him and more about the people that he's met. And you see that kind of mirrored, I think, as the movie goes on. It is that fable of like this guy coming in and just seeing this slice of life for whoever these people are living in this post-apocalyptic world. Anyway, Max finds this weird little music box that's the cadaver lets out. And of course, we get the one more little tiny hallmark of the series, I guess, which is just fucking bulging eyes.
Jump
coming at you.
scares. Like, how are you dealing with the jump scares in these movies, Andy?
You know what? Actually, okay. I'm doing okay with them.
More than I expected.
Well, I mean, we had the one at the end of the first movie with the bulging eyeballs. And
Yeah.
wait, what was the one that happened here?
Well, there's like the hand, the bloody hand.
Yeah,
through
bloody
the thing.
hand. When he opens
There's
the
a
door,
lot of the
everything
jump
pops
scare
out.
with just like, here's some crazy orchestral strike with
You're
like a
right.
thing happening on the
You're
screen.
right. At the very, very end, jumping up after the feral
Yeah.
kid.
We have him roll down the road now. And as he does, he comes across a gyrocopter that's by itself. And we instantly know this is a trap because Max pulls out his double barrel shotgun. When he gets over there, he finds a snake, a venomous snake there. And as he grabs the snake, because he's not stupid, he realizes it's a booby trap. As he does, of course, he's ambushed by the gyro captain.
Popping out from the dirt in Dune 2 style.
Yeah,
This was
yeah.
dope as hell. I gotta say though, I thought watching the movie last week, I was like, wow, this is not what I expected at all. I could have never called this. I was outdone this week. I would have never, for $1 million, been like they fly in these movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that thing, I was like, there's no way that's getting in the air. And I was fucking shocked at how much it was in the air in this movie.
It was in the
They
air.
were flying on this thing.
Dude, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, bro, like, if you somehow, like, in another universe, this movie is an animated Ghibli movie. Like,
I'm with you.
all of the different characters.
Oh my God,
like,
you're right.
It was mainly the guy, the gyro captain guy, that was like, man, he would totally just be a random dude, and he kind of had like the head shape for it as well.
Yeah.
He had like a very like skinny kind of looking head.
Well, it's very reminiscent of
Like
like heavy
Nausicaa.
metal.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that weird? Have you ever watched heavy metal?
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
the Turn It Up to 11? No, that's Spinal
That was the one
Tap.
where
No,
you're
that's
like a
Spinal
kid, you're
Tap.
like, oh, look at these animated boobs.
There was a lot of animated boobs.
Yeah.
In it. But it reminded me of that because it was like sword and sandal, but like futuristic, apocalyptic sort of thing.
When was that movie? Heavy Metal?
Good question.
I think it was like late 80s, maybe.
Because I was inspired by this, I imagine, right?
I think a lot of things were inspired by this. As
Whoa,
this was
81.
interesting.
Oh.
And again, to say that this has its roots in sort of like more, Conan the Barbarian, sword and sandal sort of things, right? Like you don't get jacked out dudes and like with their shirts off fighting and just out of nowhere. Right?
Yeah.
Those came from Conan. Those came from other movies that were coming before it. But this is just an iteration on that. That's a crazy ass evolution. Either way, the gyro captain, going back to the scene, says, hey, I want your gas. And Max quickly, because he's been in this situation before, is like, well, if you go get that gas, it's booby trapped. Just want you to know that if you do the wrong thing, it'll explode. So he walks him over there. And Max, of course, has a weapon hidden under there. Gyro captain, not stupid. He's like, hey, a smarter person might think, hey, there might be a weapon underneath there. So Max, he makes Max shut off the booby trap. What he doesn't know is that Max has an incredibly well-trained dog that's waiting in the car who jumps all over the gyro captain, and Max gets the better of him, grabs his bow and arrow, and takes him captive.
The dog used in this film, named simply Dog, was obtained from a local dog pound and trained to perform in the film. They were going to put him down the day that they ended up taking this guy
Wow.
and making him a movie star.
He died in the movie.
Because the sound of the engines upset him, and in one incident, caused him to relieve himself in the car, he was fitted with special earplugs. After filming was complete, he was adopted by one of the camera operators.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good story.
Yeah.
So he lived through when he got shot.
Yeah.
He lived through that.
Totally great.
Strong dog.
Good dog, man. Good genes. Of course, the gyro captain's like, don't kill me. I think he makes him take him back to, no. Gyro captain says, hey, I know a place where there's all the gas you want. I
Yeah.
can take you there. This is him bargaining for his life, of course. Then this is where we go over to the compound. They take a perch up on the...
But they get in the car, and the dog
Oh my God,
has
yes.
a bone in his mouth with a string on it
tied to the shotgun.
tied to the shotgun that is faced at the gyro captain. And
And
I
we-
was like, this is awesome.
We get the one moment of comedy where we see the rabbit run by, and the guy's like, and the dog looks for a second, and then looks back at the guy. He's like,
He's a good dog. Good,
Good
dog.
dog, yeah.
great.
They post up, and of course, this is where we meet the two different factions that are warring with each other. We get the people. I'll call them the townspeople. I don't know, for lack of a better term. They're in the compound who are defending this crude oil refinery that is somehow taking oil straight from the ground and spitting it out. I guess it's refining it as well.
This was a segment of the movie that like became clear to me the later we watched, where there's just so much cacophony going on that I didn't really understand. Like that there was two groups there. And like maybe I'm just a fucking idiot, but it just looked like a bunch of people going crazy, circling around, and like it looked like everyone was protecting the thing as opposed to there being like an antagonizing force against a group that's there.
Man, I'm think I'm with you. I'm like trying to visualize this in my head right now. What?
Yeah, but eventually it becomes clear like, all right, there's good guys and bad guys, but like at this moment, especially with this Australian gyro guy talking, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Oh, so you just thought everyone from the inside the compound was just having fun and dune buggies outside.
Because we see like some of the bikers like doing like sweet jumps and stuff. And I'm like, all right.
They're partying. This is how they party in the Outlands or whatever.
Yeah, I think this goes back to the costuming. I think they wanted to have that visual cue of being like, okay, the good guys are in white and the bad guys are in bondage.
We just didn't really get those shots. We were so wide because it was them looking from the mountain. So it was just a lot of cars and bikes just circling this little compound area. But again, they made it clear later. Just like it felt like more old school storytelling.
I do enjoy that there's a lot of moments where they just kind of let the camera sit in a lot of shots. Some of the and it didn't really bother me. The only one that kind of like was like, all right, move on, was when the gyro captain was like had the sandwich and the dog the snake. The dog wanted like the snake. He's like, no, this is mine. I'm gonna make this with it. Here's what I'm gonna eat with this snake. This isn't yours. Get away. And it's just like it was so long. I was like, dude, this guy won't stop.
Yeah.
I do love. Of course, this is where we meet the Humongous. We're seeing him for the first time, which is incredible. In a Jason hockey mask for no reason because it's scary, and he has a neck brace, which is weird.
It is scary.
Wild. They're laying siege to the town. They want the gas. It's the age-old story, right? We get a great beat here. This is one of the scenes that, for whatever reason, sticks out in my head when I think about this movie, where Max opens up a can of dog food, and you think, oh, he's going to feed the dog, but he starts eating the dog food because that's all he has to eat. And then when he's, finished with it, he gives it to the dog instead of the gyro captain who wants it, but the dog growls at him. And then we cut to later that night. Gyro Captain's just kind of scraping out what he possibly can.
A good amount in there still.
Still?
I was like, Max, I thought you'd be a little hungrier than that. I thought the dog actually, I know for a fact that dog would have finished that dog
for sure.
The dog's like, you got to scoop this out
like
for me,
that dog's not trying to be like, hey, I'm going to leave some for you, Gyro Man.
As night falls, the thugs sort of pull back, but they do keep a perimeter around the compound. The next morning, they send out some scouts hoping to break through the sort of blockade of bikers so that they can find a truck. We learn later they're looking for a truck that can take this tanker that they've put all of the gasoline in so they can go to the promised land, which is 2,000 miles away up north. It's going to be the savior. There's always that in these post-apocalyptic things. Spoilers, it never goes well. Of course, these people do not make it very far. They are completely overrun and overwhelmed. Max gets a beat on one of the groups, Nathan and another woman, or a woman. They get overrun. They kill the woman and do unspeakable things to her as well. And then they shoot arrows through Nathan and pin him to a dune buggy, and it's terrifying. Max
weird little telescope bit here.
No, he's like, give me that big thing.
Well, it has a longer throw, so you can see what's
it felt very like Indiana Jones-esque.
Yeah,
like,
it was
silly.
played for comedy in a way that I was like, this is just weird. But all right, sure.
I liked it. It was cute.
Max makes his way down. We find one lone biker left, and Max beats his ass, hits him with a bolt cutter. Wild, horrible.
No impact at all to this thing. It felt like just a piece of foam hitting somebody, and there was no sound at all.
Oh, really?
You have to imagine some of this was left on the cutting room floor for the MPAA to be like, that's an X.
Yeah,
I'll take that blood out. We don't need.
Because
there's a lot of shit in this movie. That's
it's
gory.
like when they broke through the glass while he was driving. Yeah. There was like no impact there.
No impact, no sound. It's like just weird, bizarre stuff that, again, the budget explains.
Should note also that this is the first time we see Wheeze and Golden Youth again, so they're part of this gang. And Max spots them and goes, okay, I don't want to mess with these guys. He frees Nathan, and he was like, look, I'm going to take you back to town, but you're going to make a deal with me right now. I want all the gas I can carry. And Nathan's like, sure, whatever. Max then gets in his interceptor, rides back into town, pulls Nathan out. They escort him in at gunpoint, or arrow point, I should say. I love that, by the way, the town, the way it's set up, it's fortified with like trebuchets and
The big bus
flamethrowers,
that blocks it.
and then the bus that gets
So
rolled in
tight.
and out. You would think at some point someone would just rail that thing in, but like cannonball it, right? But they don't, because they don't want to sacrifice it.
I don't know if we've already seen this from the Mohawk Man, but his like we've seen the effects of it, but I don't know if we've seen his dope ass like wrist gauntlet that shoots
With the arrows?
bolts.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's
So
just-
sick.
I do also love, before I forget, it's a minor note, but there's a moment where we cut outside of the compound to the bikers who were just kind of kicking it, shaving each other's heads.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, right.
Hey,
And
you
they
have
didn't
to do that.
that.
I did think about it, so that was nice of them to
It's
show
weird.
it.
It's kind of interesting little moment between them. We're like, hey, bro, let me clean
A
your
moment of
let me
respite.
clean up your line there. Max comes into the compound and meets the leader, Papa Gallo. It's a weird name, but whatever. Maybe it's something that I don't know. And he goes, hey, here's your guy. I made a deal with him. Give me all the gas, and I'm going to leave. And of course, we look over and Nathan's dead.
Piece
And
of
he's
shit
like,
died.
he's like, your deal is dead. It's null and void, unfortunately. If you had a contract with him, and it died with him, is what he says. They bring his car in, and the mechanic gives him a shout out for the last of the V8 Interceptors. This thing is legendary, apparently, amongst the mechanic community. He also found Max's booby trap because he's not stupid. He's like, hey, take a look at this.
This character that just descends from the crane.
Mhm.
Incredible.
Well, he's paraplegic, right?
Incredible stuff.
And so they have him sort of run. And then he also has like a fight moment where
It's
he's,
so,
like,
well, he
swinging
is
around.
used as a weapon. Oh
Yeah.
my god, it was just so good.
But just a weird, like, didn't need to be that, but just a creative moment where they were
Totally.
like, there are people that have suffered in this land,
Mhm.
but he's obviously still incredibly, essential to this town, and so they're like, yeah, let's rig this thing up for him to
It's
get
so
around.
cool.
It's cool.
It's
a cool
creative
concept.
use that's like good storytelling. It like builds the character, builds the world, but then also they had this crane. Let's use the crane in cool ways. That for here is a story beat. Later it's action beat. Like really tight.
The motor gang, of course, returns, led by Humongous, with the surviving members of the convoy that left earlier today. They're, of course, some of them strapped to the grills of some of these post-apocalyptic buggies and
And
stuff.
I was like, oh shit, it's Fury
This
Road.
is the beginning of it, right? And I want to point out that two of them that are strapped there just stay there the rest of the movie until they smash into the back
Oh
of the
my
fucking tanker
God.
and just explode.
That's I didn't think I was gonna see that. I didn't know I was gonna get that payoff. And it was like an audible, like, oh shit, from me
Totally.
watching.
Oh yeah.
It's shocking.
The Toady, as the character is named, takes it upon. He's the herald of the Humongous. Introduces the Humongous, the Lord Humongous, the warrior of the wasteland, the Ayatollah of rock and roll.
Is that where this started
Didn't know
from?
that was from this. That's Chris Jericho in
Yeah,
WWE.
that's where it must have come from, right? He's like, look, and then Humongous is like, look, man, I've interrogated your prisoners. I know why you sent them out. You're trying to find a rig that can haul that tanker. But let me just break it down for you guys. Let's have a bargain here. Let's take this back down to like ground level. If you just bounce, I'll let you live. And then in the same breath, he's like, no, I'm gonna kill him for sure. Right, I'm gonna kill him.
And then feral kid front flips out of the hole.
Dude, feral fucking kid, straight up, Link in Ocarina of Time, Z targeting does the fucking flip. It was like, what was that?
This whole scene is wild.
It is wild. And it introduces maybe the coolest weapon of all time.
The blade boomerang.
The blade boomerang. And they're like, hey, if you didn't think this was cool enough, let's show you 10 different ways of how this is going to fuck people up.
Well, for the first way is he
Golden
throws it at Wheeze, and Wheeze dodges it. It goes straight into the head of Golden Youth. Wheeze then takes it, throws it. It spirals backward, and of course it's a boomerang, so it comes back at him. And Toadie's stupid, so he reaches his hand up to grab it, cuts all his fingers off.
Incredible stuff.
Everyone in the gang laughs at him, as we would you, Andy,
Mhm.
if you cut all your fingers
Oh,
off
yeah,
with
for
this
sure.
kid's blade.
Thank you.
And then the kid ends up catching it. They do the thing. This is the one scene where they do this a little bit, obviously, like speed things up a little bit, but they actually speed the footage up, which to me is now very nostalgic because you look at these movies and you see it in some of the racing scenes where it looks kind of like Gumball Runish, where
Yeah.
it's kind of stupid looking because it doesn't really work anymore. But they speed him up, grabbing it, and then he goes, and then he goes back. Into his
Little
hole,
Avatar
goes
kid.
back into the thing.
But like, I don't know. For that, I'm like, man, nobody tried to pursue to get this fucker. Like, he just killed Golden Youth, who I didn't know was named Golden Youth until today. He chopped out that one dude's fingers, and like, none of them are like, hey, get that fucking kid. What the hell?
It's weird. I mean, in this world, it kind of just feels like that stuff's not that
They're
bad.
like, ah, silly. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't care, right?
I guess, yeah.
Like this shit happens all the time. Max, of course, while the townspeople are arguing, takes the opportunity to pick his handcuffs, but instead of running, he just kind of hangs out there and watches Feral Kid come through the back door from one of the tunnels. And he gives him the little music box because the kid's like had never seen something like that before, and they're instant friends. And if you gave me a music box or maybe your used guitar and taught me how to use it, we'd be best friends too.
Never thought I'd get Nick as the feral kid from Mad Max 2. Here we are. Here we are.
We work so well together. Anyway,
The sounds are so gross.
Max figures out they're looking for a fuel truck. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Setup payoff. We've seen a semi-truck that can hold this. Max saw one 2 days ago. I saw a vehicle that could haul that tanker. You want to get out of here? You got to talk to me.
Great
Do the job.
impression.
Thank you. Max needs 5 gallons of diesel and some high-octane fuel. Deal? Deal. This is where we get the night shots that I like. The first one, you guys hate the second one. Max reminds them of the deal. Diesel and all the fuel I can carry when I come back with this thing, and I'm done. No problem.
Quick question. Hold on. Science with Kev.
Kevin.
Kev,
It's me.
high octane fuel. What's the deal?
It's higher octane.
But when, how, why, like what?
It's just more explosive, right?
Yeah, it's got a different. When it burns like
So like
a
the-
much higher rate when
for-
the fuel mixes into
So
it.
for his like interceptor, mainly,
You would need it for a V8. So like cars that are sports cars, like higher RPM, like higher horsepower cars, you would put high octane fuel. Basically, when you go to the pump
Yeah,
and it says 87, 89, 91, it would be like
sometimes
91.
I get the middle one.
You can if you want.
Like,
you should just stick to one though, Andy. It's
Oh,
not good
really?
to- yeah, it's not good to switch it around.
oh, well, the middle one says nitro. Sometimes I get that one.
That's pretty cool. You don't need to use the middle one though. Your car probably takes 87. and it's
Science with Kev and Nick.
Having said that, though, if you do need to have a car that needs 91, folks, important safety tip: do not put anything but 91 in it. It will
No.
destroy your engine.
Yeah, it's good to know.
There it is.
Maybe
diesel, of
every time
course.
my dad asks me how my car's doing, I'm like, it's good. Maybe it's not so good.
Like I put good gas in it yesterday. I'm sure it went fine. And the diesel, of course, is
What
for
a
the
dad
truck.
question. How's your car doing?
Oh, he loves asking me that
Gotta ask,
question,
bro.
bro.
You
He
gotta
loves it. How's your car, mijo? Just want to make sure that I'm getting oil changes, Dad. It's okay.
This is where in the darkness he falls. One of the bikers comes over to investigate, and Feral Kid saves his ass by doing a spot-on coyote.
Oh, he's there. But what was funny about him making that
He's
noise?
3 feet away.
He's 2 feet away from
It was very dark for you guys. We could barely see it. He couldn't see it.
Not necessarily the best way to light this scene, because
No.
to the naked eye, you're like, for sure you can see this
Yeah.
guy. It's obviously it's hard to shoot moonlight, but they didn't do so great a job here. Max, of course, catches up to goes back up to his lookout post, and he finds the gyro captain is gone. We get another comedic beat here. We find the gyro captain who's just walking down the road, but he's still chained to the branch that he ripped off, and he's dragging behind him.
great.
Max catches up to him. Without even saying anything, we cut to a scene where now the gyro captain is carrying the gas, still chained up, and Max is walking, so he's got someone to shoulder the burden. We catch up to the gyro copter, and fun, interesting little thing. I mean, a guy found it and died, so his snake worked. And I guess this is his pet snake that he just trained to stay there and potentially die of starvation. We're not quite
Very
sure.
odd, yeah.
Also,
Very
what's the
weird.
deal with water in this world? Think about that for a second.
Oh, I will.
And food. We see pigs in the compound, but we don't see any water.
I brought this up on Games Daily today. Watching Mad Max and Fallout at the same time, I need to take very, very, very detailed notes because I'm mixing them a lot. Because I know the answer
Yeah.
about water in Fallout
Yeah.
based on episode 2.
Oh, I
But
can't
here-
wait. I'm gonna start watching it tonight.
Have you seen Fallout episode 1 yet?
Not yet.
Are you watching Fallout?
Oh,
yet?
yeah.
It's fucking
I'm 3 episodes in.
We're in a very good time for online
It's
content,
real
for
good.
streaming
Man,
content.
sorry for that.
Wait, yeah. So, okay, because aren't they all up in a hullabaloo about water in Fury Road?
Yeah, Fury Road has to do with water, I think, right? Oh no, yeah, because he's got the water and the waterfall. No future spoilers. What are you doing? Don't you know
Sorry.
the rules of engagement. For
No,
this
I just
podcast?
I was like, well, okay. So water is not a problem right now. Only
No, it's all
gasoline is.
gas.
Okay.
Because it's all. I mean, obviously, gas is just a vehicle, no pun intended, for the car carnage that we're gonna get. So
Carnage.
it's fun. I can't remember what the main crux of Thunderdome is, but we'll get into that next week. Right now, of course, we catch back up, and Max loots through the guy's pockets, finds all sorts of trinkets and stuff. That dice, which of course you have to imagine he got from. That's right, the Millennium Falcon. Finds a shotgun shell. It's brittle. Finds another one that he goes, and he's like, okay, that's pretty good. Opens up a Del Barrel shotgun the whole time, empty. And the captain's like, God damn it, man, you sneaky
Oh,
Australian.
fuck.
puts it in there.
You sneaky little Australian.
He's a sneaky little Aussie. They head over on the gyroscope over to the semi truck. They get it going, and Max then has the job of having to drive it through the blockade of bikers into the camp. This sets off a rad action sequence where Weeze gets on there. He's like smashing through stuff. We've got all sorts of cool shit that happens here. Weeze gets in. Some of his people get in. He's like, get the gate. And then when Weeze realizes that the jig is up, also Max has a hero moment too where the leader, Papa Gallo, takes one in the leg. So Max mans the flamethrower and flames a bunch of people. Weeze is like, this is not going my way. Decides to pull fucking Vault out of the out of the thing and then looks back and goes, or something weird like that.
It is weird.
And it's cool.
The Papa Gallo, like, you gotta have more situational awareness. Like, you're looking real cocky up there.
Yeah.
You got, like, Tim, if that's me, I'm like barely peeking my head up, turning the fucking thing, because he's just up there as if they don't have any projectile weapons, and they have plenty of projectile weapons. He was a little too brave for me right there, Papa Gallo.
Well,
Get your ass back down.
he's blonde, so he just thinks he's better than everyone.
I was like, where's he going with this?
And that's where we went.
Also, should note that at this point, the gyro captain is just like a legit fan of Mad Max.
He's a partner.
Yeah.
He's like,
my
we're
partner.
partners, but
We're
we're partners.
partners.
We're partners. It's important. It's cool. Another piece of trivia that I had written down here that I saw was that it turns out that the gyro captain always invites Max to his birthday parties ahead of time. So Max never has to find out about these birthday parties retroactively on Monday when they happen.
Well, it sounds like they have a really good relationship.
Close. Which is funny too, because it's like, how do you even get the message to Max? You don't know where he is. There's no internet. Life finds a way.
Yeah. Put the little message on a snake.
I forget. Humongous, of course. This is where we see the gun, the original cop gun with the
So
massive
cool.
scope on it. Ridiculous. He takes aim and shoots the radiator, disabling the truck for 24 hours, as we will hear. Cut over to Max, and Max got at this point he got his ass kicked, right? Yeah. Is this where he comes off all bloody? Was he in a coma? No, he is not in a coma yet. This is when he tries to leave. He's like, look, this was the deal. I just got my shit. I'm leaving right now. Everyone's like, hey man, you got to drive this truck. He's like, I'm not driving that fucking truck.
He's
I'm gonna
pulling
drive
a
my
Han
Interceptor
Solo
out of here, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a smuggler. I'm a rogue. I'm Han Solo, not Han Duo. I just got that.
Yeah.
Of course, Blondie and Gyro Captain are like in love now, and she's like, we can't leave. We got to stay there. My family.
Other Blondie.
And
Palm Tree Blondie.
Yeah, Palm Tree Blondie. We're going to also have Warrior Hottie, I think, or Hot Warrior
got
Lady,
it, yeah.
I think is what I called her. in this.
Yeah, was she the one who reminded you of Power Rangers
Yeah.
lady? Okay, cool.
She reminds me a little bit of Tim. Stick with me. Did you ever watch the He-Man movie?
I did not.
Don't worry about it then.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, chat. Chat, cut that out.
See you in 2 months.
Anyway, he's like, I'm done. I'm taking off. They prep the Interceptor and they're like, hey, deal's a deal, man. Because one guy's like, a little piece of shit guy's like, we gotta take his water. You know what I mean? We gotta take his moisture for the land. It's like, no, Stilgar's like, no, a deal is a deal.
Yeah, still
Gotta let him go. He gets off, and you think here Mad Max is gonna have that moment in a lot of westerns or whatever, where the deal's done. He rides out of town. He has the change of heart.
more like an Eastern.
Wow. Down under.
They're way over there.
It's great.
Southern.
We have that moment where we're like, he's going to get through this. And boy, does he not get through this, because Weeze hits what? That's right, the nitro. And just boosts over to him and takes off the exhaust manifold and smashes it through Max's window. And Max just, no recourse, just goes flying.
Oh,
Bye-bye,
crazy.
Interceptor.
Dude, it's insane.
Like, if this were the movie now,
This is Dulcia, the Pink Meridian Ranger of the Order of the Meridian, as featured in the Power Rangers 1995 movie.
Jesus
Originally,
Christ.
she
Yeah,
was-
imagine being 10-year-old Andy.
Yeah.
and he's like this, hey, mama needs a Pop-Tarts. Oh, my God.
she was originally cast as what's her name? Benson from SVU. But then for
Olivia Benson?
Olivia Benson. What's her actor's name?
Mariska Hargitay.
Mariska
Damn, I didn't know you
Hargitay.
knew SVU like that. Like first name basis type shit.
Oh yeah, it's a Gia thing.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah,
SVU
I know
is
the
the
Power
truth.
Ranger part of it.
Max, blown out, man. Just gone, done, fucked up, bad eye, messed up, bleeding from the head. Crawls out of his car. What does he do? Of course, the dog jumps at it, and the dog gets one. Baby, right in the stomach. Bye-bye,
Right.
dog. Very sad. Don't love
Yeah.
that. Max continues to crawl. Where? He's crawling behind a rock. Why? Because, of course, the first thing they're going to go to is they're going to try to save the gas, which is the precious resource from the V8 Interceptor. When they do, And Wheeze looks down. He's like, "It's done." They decide to go back to town. Of course, the townspeople look
So
over.
many explosions.
So
in
many
this movie.
explosions.
Big ones.
Gyro Captain watching from the compound, and he's like, "You idiot! You messed it up, you fool." Sad. Then he's like, "He's my homie. We're best friends." He comes to all my birthday parties. You know,
He invites
even
you
if I
though.
just put it on Facebook, I don't necessarily tell him. He comes.
Mhm.
So he goes over the gyrocopter, and as Max is crawling away, he hears the whirl and looks up and sees him in the sky as he's got the double vision. And then we get the awesome sort of like Apocalypse Now platoon shot of Max hanging over the side. And this had to be done practically.
Oh yeah.
Shit was
They had to hang his
crazy,
ass out of
dude.
a helicopter to get this. Mel Gibson, bang up job here coming in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
And you
it
know,
looked amazing.
Yeah.
you know, Mel Gibson, obviously a controversial figure. We've talked at length about
Think
all
about
the
it. too.
stupid shit that he's done. But I will say in this movie and in the 80s, the man carried a scene. He's great in this film. For a man that has 16 lines of dialogue, I believe you're
I
passing out.
believe it, dude.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
Absolutely, man.
Hair was better in the first one. They land. They put him in
Really,
a
I
little-
like the hair more here.
Oh, really? I love
I
the
love
foam
this
mullet.
little-
It's the blonde streak does it for me.
The rogue streak.
Yeah.
Tight.
Do you
dude.
think that it's just because it was like stressful, like when Greg got the gray hair from the chemo?
Oh man,
That's how I kind of thought it was. It was just like, you get those streaks sometimes.
I don't know. That's a great question because I was wondering like, but 7 years has passed. Surely he may have run into another group that dyes hair like they
What they
do.
do.
They have these dudes have pink hair.
So you think they're like, do you think that everything's a valuable resource? You can't find even water, and they're like, we got a lot of hair dye.
A lot of
now.
hair dye.
We're gonna waste all this water on
Nancy's
this hair dye.
beauty salon isn't
They meet
used
somebody
anymore.
and Nancy's just like, you die or you die.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now he likes to keep
They
it.
call them the dyers. So Max is saved, and he's overhearing everyone. And Papa Gallo with his broke ass hip is gonna drive the truck, and Max comes out hopping. His eyes like fucked up. I mean, this is you want to talk about a John McClane moment here. Cut in his forehead, eye messed up, can barely walk, can barely talk, and he's like, "I'm driving the truck." And they're like, "There's no deal here." He goes, "Don't need a deal. I'm your best bet to get out of
Fuck
this."
yeah.
They're
Let's
like,
go,
All
Max."
right, dude. Done. They suit up. Curmudgeon, of course, in the mechanical, like we need 24 hours because they messed up the radiator. Also, we need to put a badass fucking like snow plow battering ram on the edge of this or the front of this thing, which they're going to use, of course, to plow through the bikers the next day. We gear up.
I'm always this movie surprises me a lot with like just the properties of weight and mass. When that car crash happens that we're about to talk about, I was like very shocked how it went. I just expect like both vehicles to just
Got it.
and for one of them just to like keep. I was like, oh damn! All right, I
Dang.
was not expecting that. You
That's
know?
why I love
Science.
that.
Yeah.
Couple small facts that I missed here, of course. The shell. We get that beat of not comedy, but kind of irony, where the shell that he put in his gun originally, he goes to shoot at Humongous as he's trying to get back into the camp earlier in the movie, and it just kind of pitters out. He's
Yeah.
like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Of course, that's mirrored now by Big Rebecca, which is the character's name, giving him a napkin full of new shells. So these are going to kind of come into play later.
So sick.
Off we go. We pound through the biker gang, and as we do, everyone starts to follow them.
And we see this the Mohawk man now kind of chained on a leash
Yeah.
to Humongous, which was like a very interesting power dynamic shift.
Well,
that
you
this
remember
movie has
earlier when Golden Youth was killed, Wheeze gets pissed and goes off crazy, and Humongous has to fucking rear naked choke him out.
Yeah.
He's like, "Sleep, my puppy, sleep." And so here you have to think like they can't control him.
Yeah.
So we're just chaining him in place until it's
Mhm.
time to let loose. Right?
Oh, pretty much.
Wild.
Cool though.
Well, yeah. Well, because Golden Youth was always on the leash early on.
Was he?
Yeah.
I think that was more of like a sexual thing, though. I think that was more like a property thing. This is more like if I let this guy loose, he's going to light the whole oil refinery on fire and blow everything
Oh.
up. I think he was worried that Wheeze is a loose cannon,
Gotcha.
similar to how we think of Roger.
Right. We do think of him like that.
We do.
Off we go into what will be the most iconic scene in this movie, which is the actual tanker assault. We saw a little bit of it in the first movie. Remember, I was like, hey, remember that? And this is no exception. Rad scene.
Dude, it's
Rad.
just so cool, man. Like the action's amazing, the pace, the momentum, the speed is wild. The amount of people jumping off of moving vehicles. And reading the trivia about like how many people got injured and like how high the stakes were.
All
of
very
injuries,
believable.
It's so believable. And it's like, I mean, is it worth it? No. But hey, it exists, so I get to watch it, and it's pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we're watching it 50 years later, or
Yeah.
however long later, right? 40
Sick.
years. Worth noting, there are some interesting scenes here. Of course, I'll go through it at a clip. Hot Warrior Lady dies. Mechanic gets his legs burned. I think he dies. Feral Kid has.
Their deaths, while really cool because this movie doesn't give a fuck, and it's like, hey, people die, they die, it's fine,
Yeah.
whatever. Their deaths just felt a little weird to me because like her falling off the side of the tanker and like getting like crossbowed into it, I was like, okay, she's either dead or they're gonna save her. I did not expect her to not quite be dead, and then later just randomly kind of fall into the street. It's like, that's weird. Also, they're on this tanker that's full of like scary gas and oil and stuff. And this dude's just on fire on
Yeah.
top of it. I'm like, this is very stressful, Andy.
But he's not worried
Yeah,
because he knows.
he knows.
He knows something
the
everyone else
truth.
doesn't know. Papa Gallo tries to pull some heroic shit. At one point, the gyro captain throws a Molotov cocktail at the Humongous, but does not kill him. He just burns him a little bit more. The guy's like, I've already been burned. Can't burn me twice. Double jeopardy.
I'm just thinking of the dude on top who's on fire, like you were just mentioning. Just there's a shot of just like camera on him, and he's like, it's played for comedy, I feel, but it's just kind of just, I guess it is comedic because it's very goofy of him just kind of like, I guess I'm on fire. I didn't like it. I didn't
Yeah,
like this
well, the
dude.
legs on fire, obviously, you couldn't feel, but the hands on fire, you're like, you might freak out a little bit.
Yeah,
with this.
yeah.
The scene is awesome and obviously very memorable. I will say the pacing of some of it is a little bit weird. There's at one point, Max just is sort of driving and kind of looks over and he sees like the Humongous. Humongous like, "Stop, let's take a little break for a second.
Yeah.
Just hang out for a second.
Yeah, there were a couple moments where I needed to kind of like rewind and be like, oh, no, that's still the bad guy who's right behind him. Because there were moments where I didn't feel the fear out of Mel. Maybe it's just because he's so much of a badass, But I wanted more like, oh, fuck, they're still on my tail kind of moments from Max there.
We do get what I think is the coolest shot of the movie, where the car pulls up next to him and they like kind of like they're trying to get aboard. They've pulled the door off, right? Car pulls up next to him and Max comes out of the fucking cockpit of the car and just blasts the dude's face with a double barrel shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
And that kills like 30.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a crit hit? It just kills like
Yeah.
30 of the gangsters.
Yeah.
We get those moments, those visceral moments with that double barrel shotgun with Max.
That
That's
was a
super
great
cool.
moment.
And of course, then the shells become that sort of like tension building moment. They all spill out over the hood. He's like, kid, get the shells, get the shells. And the kid's like, the kid starts playing with his own butt. And then he's like, no, get the shells. Get the shells, kid.
No, real
The
talk.
shells.
Like this goddamn kid, like it started getting a little weird of his placement on this truck, and like it was like, what was he doing with the dude?
Well,
like
the guy grabbed a hold of him and was like dying, so he was trying to get the hook
I
out
just
of
feel
him.
like that dude didn't die a little too long.
A little too long.
Like
I
this
was-
kid's hanging out with this guy. I'm like, is he holding on to a dead man? Like, what are we doing,
Dude,
here?
I was so confused by why is Mel Gibson's left arm just like stuck out there for like
It was not good.
he wasn't
camera
really
blocking.
trying to do
Yeah.
much to not be in that situation.
The kid crawls out onto the hood, and we get it. We're like, because we saw Wheeze go over the hood earlier. When I was a kid and I saw this, I did not know. I thought the kid was gonna like fall. Wheeze just pops. I was like, ah,
Dude,
scary
jump
shit.
scare, man. Shit was crazy.
and also they do a great job of being like, we won, it's over, it's done.
Mhm.
Like we saw that guy fly the fuck off, he's dead, right? And yeah, this moment did give me a little charge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oof, a little freaky.
But the next moment, of course, I'm not quite sure here. I think they were just like, we can't figure out how to end this scene. Humongous just decides to take the car on head on.
It
which is
seems like a
wild.
Mad Max kind of thing at this point. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. There's something about the setups of these movies where there's one street with just nothing on the sides of it. And then they always just end up playing chicken with somebody coming straight at them.
Well, I have to imagine like if you can't stop it, you have to sort of play chicken with them because they pull off the road. They crash or whatever. Max is like, I don't give a shit. We smash us straight into the Humongous splat. We also had the splat of the two prisoners earlier, and everything goes flying.
So much.
Everyone dies. The gas tank spills over. The final remaining 3 or 4 bikers walk over to it. They look down, but there's no gas. They're like, we gotta get the gas. They look in. What's spilling out? Sand. And I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched this movie in so long. I was like, fuck, that was a good plan. And we see the convoy, of course. The real convoy has already pulled out, and that went the other direction once all the bikers were.
And I'm
The
watching
precious
this
juices in the cars.
just like I was watching fucking last week's. I was like, oh my God, it's Saw. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Fast 5. It's the safes in Fast Five.
Safes.
I was like, goddamn, this
So
is
smart,
this is
bro.
some good stuff here. I did not like. I understand the movie; it's not real, but like it plays so many things realistically that when they do stuff that feels like fantastical, like too much, it takes me out of it. And the little kid backflipping and all that stuff, like the boomerang perfectly coming back. Some of that stuff, I was like, this is a little magical. But this tanker fucking just getting destroyed and rolling over and stuff. And Max and this fucking feral kid just like, I'm a little messed up, but I'm okay.
Well, he
I don't know,
Grooted
man.
the kid. You got to Groot him.
He grooted him.
He
Grooted
grooted the kid. I got it.
You know,
You're
when,
right.
when you get
I
it, we
take
see the
all
kid
back.
kind of come up and he like hugged him a little bit. And
Yeah.
he's like, and the kid's like,
Yeah.
so it worked out.
Yeah.
Of course, from here we get the narrator back. Story's over. Gyro Captain became the leader of the caravan as it traveled far north and eventually found what they were looking for: freedom.
Leader of
in
the
a great
North.
place. Leader of the North. Feral
The
kid.
North
Eventually grew to
tribes.
manhood and became leader, the chief of the great Northern tribe, and the Road Warrior. That was the last we ever saw him. He lives now, only in my memories.
Fuck it. Dude, legit, like, I'm standing up watching it, like, in the most, like, fucking dad boomer fucking pose where you're just standing with your hands crossed looking in front of your TV. And, like, that moment ends and just, like, again, I'm alone in my bedroom going, that's a fucking ending right there.
Yeah,
it was
man.
so cool, man.
It was so cool. So I was a little confused though about like the lore of this. So who is now the leader of the North? The gyro captain?
The kid.
no, the kid.
The
Kid
kid.
grew up, and in time, as he came into manhood, became the leader of the North.
Yeah,
The
okay.
Northern tribes, basically.
Okay, so what's up with the gyro guy? He just
Jared guy was the leader for a while, and you have to imagine he's dead.
Yeah, he's
He died.
older.
yeah.
older,
Okay.
So he was leader until he got him there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And then when
That's what I thought.
when natural succession, the kid took over.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, and that was it. Again, I don't want to lament on it, but I just love this random, just sort of like composed shot of Max like standing on the road, just like, and then we're just pulling,
Dude,
we're just
yes.
pulling away from it. It's
Yeah.
such a cool moment.
Shout out to Rajiv in the YouTube chat, Patreon chat, says stunning cinematography in the final shots. Yeah, like that moment you just
Oh,
mentioned.
cool, man.
That is one of the coolest composed shots. And I'm only thinking of they had to get in that perfect moment because
Yep.
the sun is setting in the background
Absolutely.
and it's like lighting kind of that area just perfectly. It's so good looking.
Badass.
So
That is
good.
the Road Warrior.
The Road Warrior. I just, Andy, I can't believe it. We go from Mad Max to The Road Warrior, and then the next one's called Beyond Thunderdome. Like, not even Thunderdome. It's just Beyond
Yeah.
Thunderdome, man. What the fuck is this movie gonna be?
No spoilers if you know, but do you have any idea what Thunderdome is?
No.
Great.
I know
can't
one
fucking
thing
wait.
about
I
it, and
can't
I'm very
wait.
excited for it. But like, Thunderdome is just something I've heard a bazillion times.
I mean, I don't know, but I think I know just based on other properties that have.
Oh, it's been in Family Guy. It's been in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
of course.
excited.
Thunderdome is iconic.
Okay.
yeah. Is it related to Waterworld?
No.
Okay.
Waterworld,
No, but I'm
I mean, they're kindred spirits. Waterworld is a post-apocalyptic world where everything's covered by water
You know
instead
that-
of the desert.
You know that one Rick and Morty episode where Morty gets his arm transplanted with another dude's arm and it like controls him and he ends up
That's a
beating a
video
bunch of
game,
dudes'
Andy.
asses, huh?
Video game.
That's Phantom Pain or Metal Gear Solid 2.
It's also a great movie called Body Parts back in the day. RaGu BaGu. Hey everyone, we're gonna take a special break from RaGu BaGu to talk about body parts for a couple seconds. Andy, have you seen this movie? This was about a serial killer who dies, and then they decide to take all of his body. He donates all his body parts to other people who need organs, and they need like arms and limbs and stuff like that. And then each and every one of them like becomes like the fucking killer.
Oh,
Cool. Jeff Fahey, I think it's his eyes.
like Bones,
No.
the detective.
So for RaGu BaGu right now, currently number one, we have Toe Cutter and the Knight Rider gang.
I got to put the Humongous
Humongous and the
and
Marauders.
Wheeze and the Marauders basically
Yeah.
at number one. They're
Yeah.
iconic. This is iconic to me. I would be remiss if I didn't put them at number one. I don't think anything's going to top them, truth be told.
Yeah, this is number one.
Because
Because
the Humongous, and just with the Jason mask and the burns
Yeah.
and the weird ADR, that you're like, you're not talking. This guy's not
No.
talking.
And that's the thing. I agree that
perfect.
they're number one, but I do think that there was like a personality to Toe Cutter and there was a legacy to the Knight Rider gang and all that I feel I was way more scared by them than I was by these people. And I feel like they were like better villains and antagonists, whereas this
they
was
had
like
better setup.
this was like a cooler parts of a plot. They didn't really necessarily feel like characters. It was more just like they are a force that is against Max, but still,
Yeah,
I-
they
I'd put it
become
at
one dimensional for sure.
Yeah.
Andy, I'd like to apologize to you because I think I got the synopsis of body parts wrong. Let me just quickly read this for everyone. I think it was that they got the parts and then a killer comes back to get the parts back from them.
Of course.
I think that's after losing his arm in a car accident, a criminal psychologist has it replaced with a limb that belongs to a serial killer. You get the gist. You should watch it at your own accord. Next week we'll talk.
Liquid. Time to rank these movies. Currently number 1's Mad Max. Where do you want to put The Road Warrior?
It's number 1 for me. This is what I think of when I think of Mad Max. I think this is iconic. I think this is a great movie, still holds up, beautifully shot, very entertaining, and just God bless the 80s for having the dang courtesy of having an hour and 34-minute movies.
Oh my
it just
God,
goes by. We don't need any more of this. We're good.
Number 1 with a crossbow arrow.
Yeah, talking it through, I would put it number 1. I just want to give a shout out to Mad Max 1 because I just feel like it's a lot more special than people are giving it credit
100%.
for. But yeah, this movie kicks fucking ass.
Mad Max 1 is going to be the way I was with Rocky 1. I'm just like, God, I fucking loved Rocky 1 so much.
Yeah, I can see that.
Such
I
a
can
special
see that.
movie.
Let us know in the comments below what you thought about The Road Warrior and how hyped you are to go beyond Thunderdome next week, because I'm really excited, y'all. And then I'm extra excited for Fury Road, which, by the way, we're not doing the following week because we're taking a little break to go back to Planet of the Apes.
Oh, man, are
which
you
I'm excited
serious?
for.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
excited for.
Holy shit.
And then we'll be back. But I'm excited for Fury Road because I don't think I've actually seen Fury Road, the whole movie.
Really?
Me and G watched the first 30 minutes
Dude.
one time, and then some emergency happened and we ended up having to leave. I was fucking so in, and then we just never went back to it. So
You're not missing much. I heard it's not very good.
yeah,
We'll see.
No,
We'll see how I feel about it my second time around.
we'll have to see about it. So I'm really excited about that. Give me 1 second. Tell me more about Three Body Problems, Nick.
Oh, Three Body Problem is a great show on Netflix that everyone keeps telling me to watch, and I just refuse to because if you tell me one too many times to watch something, I was like, no, absolutely not. Having said that, very excited to start Fallout. Very excited about that.
Okay, I'm happy that I asked you to stop. So next week we're doing Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Oh, no. What did you just discover?
And then we're going to take a 2-week break before we come back to Fury Road and Furiosa. But because there was just a little extra room, so we're going to do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes that comes out on May 10th. But before that, just to get ready for that, we're going to add a little bit to the Planet of the Apes universe. We're doing Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes from the year 2000 with Mark Wahlberg, Andy.
Oh my God! I think I saw some apes. Are
I've
they
never
talking
seen
to
it,
me?
and I'm fucking excited,
Where'd you learn
everybody.
Where'd you learn how to speak American?
Prepare your bodies, prepare your souls. Till next week. I love you all. Goodbye.
God.